Good evening, everyone. I'm Gene Bailey. You're watching FlashPoint. End of a week, Friday. It's been quite a week, and we have a lot to talk about tonight. I've got a great panel with us tonight. You're going to enjoy every one of them, including Rick Green. You're going to enjoy it. I'm sure he's going to say something good tonight. But I want to talk to you about something very serious. You know this because you watch FlashPoint, but let me go through this because sometimes I just have to get this out. Right now, today, there's a legal system creeping into our country that is the complete opposite of everything our founding fathers fought and died for. It's called Sharia law. And if you think you can't happen or it can't happen here, you're simply not paying attention. Let me be crystal clear. Sharia law and the United States Constitution cannot coexist. They're oil and water. They're freedom and tyranny. You cannot have both. Under Sharia law, a woman's testimony in court is worth half that of a man's. A woman who's raped needs 4 male witnesses to prove it. Otherwise, she gets punished for adultery. Leaving Islam is punishable by death. Speaking against Muhammad is punishable by death. Now, this isn't ancient history, folks. This is happening right now in countries under Sharia law. Saudi Arabia and Iran, parts of Nigeria and Pakistan. Women are being stoned. Apostates are being executed. Hands are being cut off for theft. Now contrast that with what our founders gave us. Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin. They created a system where all men are created equal. Not some men, all people endowed by their Creator with unalienable rights. Our founders built America on Judeo-Christian values, values that say every human being has inherent dignity and worth, values that say government exists to protect our God-given rights, not to grant them or take them away. And here's what should concern you and I. Sharia law is already being considered in American courtrooms. Islamic tribunals are operating here in Texas and in Dearborn, Michigan. Judges have actually cited Sharia law in custody cases and in domestic violence cases. When we allow even one case to be decided by Sharia instead of constitutional law, we've crossed a line. When we do that, we say that some Americans can live under a different legal system, a system that denies women equal rights, that denies religious freedom, that denies the most basic constitutional protections. So what do? We stand up. We speak out. We demand that every court case in America be decided by American law, the Constitution, and nothing else. We educate ourselves. That's why we're here. We educate our neighbors. We support legislation that bans foreign law from our courtrooms. And finally, we elect leaders who will defend the Constitution without apology. Our founding fathers pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to create this republic. The least we can do is to have the courage to defend it. It's not about hating anyone. Let me make that clear. This is about loving America enough to preserve what makes her exceptional. This is about protecting the freedoms that millions have fought and died to secure. Let me leave you with this. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. Today is Ronald Reagan's 115th birthday, and he said that, and he was right. The choice is ours. The time is now. Will we stand for the Constitution? Will we defend the Judeo-Christian values that built this nation? Will we say with one voice that in America we believe the Bible and we're governed by the Constitution and only the Constitution? I choose to believe that we will. Because if we don't, the America we know and love will cease to exist. So with that, it's time to get busy and let's get started. My guests tonight, Floyd Brown, John Amanchukwu, Rick Green, and someone new, Alicia Farrant. She's the mother of 5, a proven leader who's dedicated to restoring excellence, integrity, and common sense in Florida's Orange County schools. She works with lawmakers to strengthen parental rights, ensure transparency, and advance reforms that protect students and families. So, Alicia, welcome to FlashPoint. We're glad you're here.
Wow, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with all of you.
All right. Rick, You know, you and I have been in a few meetings, not on television, talking about what's going on in America with Sharia law. And you know, this morning I got up and I was thinking about what we talked about yesterday and what we've been studying and the books on the Quran and Islam. And this is so important to America. We must get this right.
Yeah, Gene, by the way, the intro, man, if I wasn't tethered here, I would stand up. I want to give you that was awesome. Dude, that'll preach right there. I'm feeling the pressure. You told everybody I was going to say something good tonight. So, I mean, you got Amanchukwu and Floyd Brown and Alicia. I feel like the pressure's on. But, look, you know, something you and I have said for a long time, and I think got confirmed with some of our friends yesterday. We've got to educate people on what freedom of religion really is. What does the First Amendment really mean? What did the founders intend? Did they intend for us to allow anything and everything, even if it, quote, subverts the public good, unquote, which is what the courts have told us it should not be able to do. And so you picked the right day, man. Like you said, President Reagan's birthday today. I got a kid born on Reagan's birthday, so my youngest, his birthday's today, and I got another kid named Reagan, so I'm confused today about all the birthdays, but it's a great time for us to remember that freedom's a fragile thing and never more than one generation away from extinction. I love that you started with that. That quote's been on my website for 25 years. It's probably my favorite Reagan quote. But, yeah, this threat is real, Gene, and it's a generational fight we're in for. This is not going to change overnight. So, FlashPoint Army, get ready. Buckle up. We're going to equip you to fight this and win it.
That's right. And it's not going – and let me say that I don't mean to be a downer. I do not believe this is going to be a quick war. This is where we're going to have to sustain. It didn't happen overnight, so it's going to take a little bit of time to get to win this fight. But it can happen, and I believe it will. Floyd Brown, you had the honor of working with President Reagan, and before the show, you and I were talking, and I said, I was talking about him. He said it was the best job you ever had. And I asked you a question. I said, what would President Reagan be saying about what's going on right now in America?
Yeah. Well, I think he'd be really upset, Gene. You know, I met him when I was 15 years old, and I went to work for his 1980 campaign when I was in my 20s, and then I worked in his administration. And he always understood the threats from abroad to the U.S. Constitution. Now, in his era, the major threat was communism. But I believe in this era, the major threat is Islam. But we kind of have a strange phenomenon going on in America, and that is there seems to be a coalition that's building between the Marxists and the communists and the people that Ronald Reagan was upset about and Islam. They got together during these Palestinian protests, and I think they are building an anti-American nexus, and what they want to do is take America down. And we, as freedom-loving Americans, are going to have to stand up and fight.
John, let me get you in here to the conversation. What do you think? We're going to have to fight this, or is it going to take care of itself?
We're already in a fight. And so it's either we swing, we duck, or we run, or we get knocked out. And so I think the issue is this right here. We have to define what we are contending with. We're fighting against jihad. That's war on the infidel, war on non-Muslims. I'm so glad that when Jesus Christ saves us and we come into the kingdom as righteous individuals, that he doesn't lead us towards blowing ourselves up just to gain 70 virgins. That's the mentality of Islam. They seek to destroy everyone and anyone who's not a Muslim. But we're called to win the lost, not through bombs, not through terror, not through demonizing women, but through love, through truth, through boldness, and through the gospel. And so we have to fight now, because if we don't, then we will be destroyed. And so now more than ever, we need Christians to understand the severity of our day. Islam is not compatible with Western civilization because it will speak towards the annihilation of Western civilization, in particular, America.
Alicia, you're there in Florida and you've been fighting it on a local level, but I'm sure you've run into this, you know, women pushing back and they're pro-Muslim, pro-Islamic. How do you rectify that?
Listen, it goes back again to the scripture. We don't fight against flesh and blood, but spiritual principalities. And so when I'm faced with people who are standing up for wild things like this, I have to remember that this really is a spiritual battle that we're in, and we have to fight spiritually. We have to get out our word of God, which is our sword, and fight spiritually the battle. My husband, my family, and I, we do ministry in El Salvador, doing missions work, and we've seen President Bukele transform the nation. God used this man to come in and bring the word of God, and spirit filled, and come in and totally transform a nation. The nation will be transformed first when the pastors get that muzzle ripped off of them and begin to speak truth boldly. And that's how we're gonna win this, by the spirit realm first, and then we'll see it in the natural.
You're absolutely right, Alicia. It is a spiritual battle, and one that we must fight. We're gonna pick up Islam in a few minutes, but let's get to some more news of the day. And I want to get back to what you're doing with the school boards, because you and John, you guys are fighting a fight that we need to continue to talk about. Today, good news out of D.C. Let me show you how the FBI, what they did with the arrest of Benghazi leader. Watch.
Today, I'm proud to announce that the FBI has arrested one of the key participants behind the Benghazi attack. Zubair al-Bakash landed at Andrews Air Force Base at 3 a.m. this morning. He is in our custody. He was greeted by Director Patel and U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro.
Okay, so we got some B-roll I just want to play, but Rick, how big a deal is this that we actually caught? This is him getting off the plane at 3 a.m. in the morning. While we're looking at this video, how big a deal is this that we were able to secure this?
Well, I hope we're not too cynical in that it took so long, right? My initial reaction is always a little bit of cynicism. Oh, all right, is this a wag the dog thing? Why did this take so long? I hope instead our reaction is, I'm thankful that they would stay with it, that they would keep going, that Kash Patel would make this a priority and Bondi would make it a priority. And I'm so sorry to not be serious, Gene, but does anybody else always watch those clips and the way Kash Patel stands there and his eyes look around is like a bad Saturday Night Live skit? Would someone from public relations please talk to Kash about that? I'm sorry. I couldn't help but notice it. But I do think, Gene, it's incredibly important because we're all screaming for, we want indictments of American politicians and not just terrorists like this, right? But it's important for people to know that they are still on the job, that they're not letting go of these things that happened. What was Benghazi now? Is that 13 years, 14 years, be 2012. So that we don't forget, we don't let that stuff go, and America's still going to go for justice. We still believe in that verse out of Micah about doing justice. So anyway, I think I would want to try to dispel the cynicism that I initially have with these things and encourage people to know this is good news.
It is good news. But, Floyd, let me go to you. Let's go back to when this whole thing happened with Benghazi, right before the election, days before the 2012 election, this whole attack. It just all seems highly suspicious. And I know Rick is cynical. I think we all are, we may think it's being cynicism, but we've all been burned. We go, okay, wait a minute. What's the real story here? Is this something, is it really what we're seeing, or is there another story behind it? What do you think, Floyd?
Yeah, well, I've been following this since literally the week it happened. And Gene, what I think it is you have to realize Obama and Hillary Clinton were arming ISIS. And we had American soldiers that were killed with weapons that had been trafficked through Benghazi to ISIS. And then somehow those same weapons had ended up in Afghanistan. And so literally, when the trouble hit the compound in Benghazi, they didn't rescue the people because they wanted to cover up the dirty deeds that they had done by literally providing weapons to ISIS. And what I'm hoping is that we will get a lot more of the truth out as we get into this trial. And I'm hopeful that we're going to get the full truth of Benghazi, because I believe there's blood on Obama's hands and Hillary Clinton's hands for what happened there to the Americans at Benghazi.
That's so good. There's...
Hey, Gene, could I just add one quick thing to that, a serious note? One thing to remember, I think this supports what Floyd just said. both of the arrests, this is the third arrest, right, of the people that planted and did the Benghazi attack. The other two were in Trump's administration as well, 2018 and 2020. So I think Floyd's right. Like, nothing happened in the second term of Obama after this horrible thing had happened. And then, of course, nothing happened during Biden. And that's kind of what I was trying to say with regard to, we're not going to forget this stuff. And when we get in charge, we're going to see it through. But anyway, just keep that in mind. All three arrests with regard to Benghazi happened during Trump's administration, even though Obama had 4 years to do something about it, and I should say Otto Penn, not Biden, but Otto Penn had 4 years to do something about it as well.
That's so true. Floyd, let me go back to you. With this election that occurred in 2012, which I remember we were all like in shock that it actually went the way it did. Is this, it taking this long, is this because we're just that slow, to talk about Rick, what he said? Are we this slow, or is the deep state that deep?
Oh, no, the deep state is probably deeper than we realize, Gene. The truth is, I mean, you've seen the deep state on full display just recently. They're trying to keep our DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, from really investigating what they've been up to. And she's doing an absolutely amazing job. I mean, the fact that she was down in Atlanta with the investigation of Fulton County is absolutely amazing. And the reason she was there is we are going to find out, Gene, that foreign actors literally stole the election in 2016. And they probably were stealing elections before that, and they were doing it with the helping hands of the deep state in Washington, D.C. Likely the CIA was signing off on it. I think I really want to question whether Obama was reelected. Was Obama even elected the first time? We've had such unbelievable corruption in our elections, Gene, that you can take the last half generation and probably throw out half of the elections as being fraudulent.
I believe you're right. I remember in 2012 when Obama got the second term, it was shocking. And I just could not believe that many Americans thought this was a great idea. Maybe they did. I've met a lot of people that voted for Obama. It's just shocking. Let me go to John Amanchukwu. You've been listening to the conversation. I want to give you a chance to weigh in on it.
Well, speaking on the whole voter fraud situation, we need to understand that we can't have a nation, we can't have secure elections if we don't have this voter ID. All right. 83% of Americans believe that we should have to present an ID card in order to vote. Why aren't we doing that? That should be a non-negotiable.
Agreed.
It should be basic. In order to get into the DNC when they have their gatherings and events, you have to have a ID. In order to get certain medicines from the pharmacy, you got to have a ID. In order to open a bank account, you have to have a ID. So forth and so on. And it's sad today that we're in a position where we can have our elections, but it's not clear. It's not clear who people are. And the Obama-Biden regime brought in over 15 million criminal illegal aliens to pad their voter rolls. It's all intentional. There's a plan behind it, but we can't get voter ID passed. And let me say this as well. Oftentimes the messaging is if we institute voter ID, then it's going to harm Black people the most. Man, I know thousands of Black people who have ID cards. It's simple. It's easy. It's basic. But when it comes to us, it's the soft bigotry of low expectations. We can't do it because it's going to disenfranchise minorities. And so therefore we keep moving on as if we don't understand what's being done. You can't tinkle on me and tell me it's raining. I see the intentional plan of reducing the standard and then blaming it on one group of people. And so I pray that we can get voter ID legislated and passed this year.
I think you're right. And John, I don't understand why it's a big deal other than it's because they want to just spin the election. I mean, why would we not have paper ballots? Why would we not? You know, Alicia, let me get you to weigh in here. You're school board, you're running for school board chair. Has there been any type of shenanigans in your elections with voter tampering? Or you feel good about it?
I think every American out there always wonders what is the truth, like what's actually going on. And, you know, I'm in the free state of Florida, so I believe that we've got some great things going on here. But always there's just, I think, just like Mr. Amanchukwu was saying, the biggest thing is having the voter ID. It's just unbelievable to me that we actually have states in the United States who are allowing people to come in, like Minnesota. That's my hometown, Minneapolis, and people are able to go in and not have an ID, and somebody else can just vouch for them. It just seems wild to me, and I think for us to really win back the trust of the American people, we have to have a high standard, and that's literally what I ran on to be a school board member. We got to raise the standard of excellence, and I believe that for the United States of America as well. We've got to raise the standard and win back the trust of the American people.
How are we going to do that, Alicia? How are we going to do that? How are we going to win back the trust?
Yep. How do you win back the trust? By speaking the truth, making sure that, you know, we've got to stand up for truth. We've got to stand up for the American people. And the American people have seen how the United States, the presidents in the past have spent billions of dollars helping other countries, helping other people, helping illegals coming across, giving them credit cards, housing, while our own people are suffering. We've got veterans on the streets. It's like a whole slew of things, but we've got to have our focus on the American people. Just like as a school board member, my focus is on education, making sure that our students have what they need, not on all the other fluff, but really focusing on the main thing.
The main thing. The main thing. And you're absolutely right. And let's go back to what you said earlier, Alicia. It's a spiritual battle that we're going to have to fight. So I was going to say, John, Mr. Amanchukwu. I don't know why that made me kind of laugh a little bit. But anyway, Mr. Amanchukwu, let me get you to weigh in here. I mean, this is it is a spiritual battle. In all seriousness, it's a spiritual battle. But it seems like Christians, and I know I'm being broad brush here, and I'm not talking about any one denomination or anything like that. So get that off your mind. But we have this tendency to not really, we either deal with, we either have a prayer meeting and candlelight vigil, or we're doing something stupid and, you know, trying to go hurt people. And we don't do any of this very well. There's never an understanding that there has to be the spiritual side, but practicality of standing up is where we seem to fail. And I would say that for all of the conservative side of politics, they do that. They fail without standing up for the right things, and they capitalize on the wrong things. Is that the way you see it, John? What is it that we're missing here?
Well, it sounds like you're saying simply that faith without works is dead.
Yes.
All right. And that's where we are. You know, there are some people who think that we can just pray our way through this situation, but not actively engage in the culture and what's going on. You know, this is the impetus of FlashPoint. This is why you do what you do, to arm the church, to make sure that we are solidified in our biblical worldview, but that we know how to take that into the marketplace. That's imperative, Gene. Hats off to you for the leadership and, you know, shouldering the plow and the heavy work of leading this ministry to make sure that America and the nation understands how imperative it is that we don't pray one way and then vote another. That's the problem with us. We know we're on fire at church on Sunday morning.
Yes.
Holy Ghost is moving if you go to a spiritual church, right? Everyone feels the power, hand clapping, foot stomping, run around the church, speak in tongues, all that stuff. But when that's over, we leave. And we don't go to school board meetings. We send our kids off to Babylon, and then we're surprised when they come back as Babylonians. We look the other way when we see the pervert go into the women's restroom, but we know he has a penis. We say nothing about that. We don't want to rub people the wrong way at Christmas time and send out a Merry Christmas card. We want to say season's greetings, you know, because in Christendom today, it's about being nice and not being faithful. You know, when it comes to talking about the sanctity of life, we don't want to call it murder. We don't want to say that. We want to say calm things like, it's another opportunity for reproductive justice. And so as the church loses its voice, as we lose our ability to discern between good and evil, right and wrong, what's righteous and what's unrighteous, then we're left as being feeble and weak.
Yeah.
And so I say to the Christians out there, arm yourselves likewise, contend for the faith, lean into the third part of the Trinity, the Holy Spirit that gives you the divine utterance to speak boldly and courageously to issues. I've traveled this country now to 23 states, fighting against punks, perverts, and showing myself to be a protector. I stand boldly for all children. I was once asked by a reporter. The reporter said, "Hey, Pastor John, are you leading a black movement in America?" I thought about it. You know, I'm a black man, actually brown, but I said to myself, no, I'm not leading a black movement. I'm leading a kingdom movement. Now more than ever, the church has to unite as one and do the work of the Lord, because if we don't, Sharia law is coming, more perverts are coming, and we're going to lose this thing. God forbid.
That's right. God forbid. All right, Alicia, I know I'm going to lose you here at the break here, but I want to ask you this. You're on the school board. Let's put Alicia's information up there. People want to find you. You're running for an office. But I want to hear what the battles that you fought. Have you had to deal, like John, with bad books in the libraries?
Yeah, absolutely. It is unbelievable, the things that you start finding when you're looking through these libraries. And what's unbelievable is we have our students have one-to-one devices, and the school board is allowed to curate the content of those laptops. We can make sure that the websites that they have access to are age appropriate. But the minute that we, have books like even this one that I just found in a middle school, 4 of our middle schools had it. It's full of perversion. It looks cute, but it literally has animals with threesomes and masturbating. It is disgusting, completely inappropriate. And yet our board just passed this. It was me and then one other board member. The rest of the other 6 board members said it's wonderful and it should be part of the 6th and 7th grade, 8th grade. It's not part of curriculum, but it's something that they think that it just goes along and is wonderful for them. It's filthy. We have books like Red Hood that we've been able to remove that has explicit sex scenes and just perversion, age inappropriate. But the minute that we try to remove those books, suddenly we're labeled book banners, when really we're just curating the content that's in our libraries. Most parents send their children to school assuming that these libraries are full of great wholesome classics and wonderful stories, but instead their children are finding trash like books like this.
And you're standing up, and you've been on the school board here. Thank you for doing that, and thank you, John, for what you're doing as well, going across this country, standing up for what's going on. And we have to have strong people, strong citizens, men, women. I'll take a strong mama bear over John Amanchukwu any day. But when John walks in, he does command a little bit of a respect, and because he's a big guy. But it's going to take all of us. We need, and that dads, that doesn't let you off the hook either. We've got to stand up for our kids and our grandkids. And if you don't have any of those, you might have them one day. And if you don't, then stand up anyway, because we have a nation to save. This is one of the key areas we lost early on. And this is why we must stand up for it. All right, we're going to take a break. Alicia, thank you for coming. Let us know however we can. We'll get you back on here again soon. Thank you for being a part of FlashPoint. All right, we're going to take a break. We come back. We're going to talk about kids skipping school to protest ICE. That's stupid. After this.
Join us at FlashPoint Live San Diego on April 9th and 10th at Awaken Church San Marcos campus. Join Gene and Terry Bailey and their guests, Pastor Jurgen Matthesius, Pastor Hank Kuhneman, Lance Wallnow, Pastor Rob McCoy, Rick Green, and Martin and Millicent Cedra. You are going to be trained, equipped, and empowered during this dynamic 2-day event. For event details and to register for this free event, go to fparmy.com/events.
There's never been a more important time to be bold and speak truth. FlashPoint is answering the call. There's no shortage of vision, and it's time to impact culture in every way we can. And we can't do it without you.
We must do more. We can't just sit back and wait. That's why your gift makes such a difference here at FlashPoint.
Your giving fuels everything we are doing here at FlashPoint. We're here to equip, activate, and disciple, and your support makes this possible. FlashPoint is a 501c3, and your tax-deductible donation goes directly to the mission. Give at fparmy.com/donate or text FLASH to 28950. It's secure, quick, and makes an impact. If mailing your donation, send it to FlashPoint, P.O. Box 1, Newark, Texas, 76071. Stand with us. Speak truth. Be the light. This is FlashPoint.
Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, and Montana. Join the FlashPoint Army on March 12th and 13th for a power-packed FlashPoint Live event in Boise, Idaho at Awaken Church. Join Gene Bailey, Jurgen Matthesius, Hank Kuhneman, Lance Wallnow, Rick Green, Mark Meckler, Nate Schatzline, John Amanchukwu, Russell Johnson, as you will be inspired and impacted. Go to fparmy.com/events to register for this free event.
We're back. Listen, we are coming to Boise. You saw that just in the break, March 12 and 13. Look who's going to be there. Pastor Jurgen Matthesius, that's his church. Hank Kuhneman, Lance Wallnow, Rick Green, Pastor John Amanchukwu, Russell Johnson, Mark Meckler, Nate Schatzline. Listen, you have to be there. And you go, why do you say that? You have to say that for all of us. And that's true, I do. Because it's so important. When every one of these events has its own unique personality. And the first one we did in Houston this year was absolutely amazing. Now, I understand not all of you can travel, and I get that. So watching on television. But if there's any way if you can get in the room, you will meet people that believe like you do. You will get information that you won't get anywhere else. And remember, this whole event is not televised. What that means is on the most important thing we do is the Flash Talks on Friday morning, and we're going to be covering everything. We're doing more. You'll hear Rick Green talk about biblical civics and just what we can do to get the ball rolling. Simple steps that you can do right away. Terry's taking on Islam. She's got about 8 hours worth of material she tries to cram into 45 minutes. So you're going to get a head full of knowledge and training, and that's what we believe this year is so important, that we train you on what's going on in your nation and how you stand up. We know now how important these midterm elections really are, but there are elections coming up, for instance, right here in Texas, March 3rd, Proposition 10, we want to get that passed, where you have to, Sharia laws banned. Absolutely, there can be no Sharia law in Texas. There are other elections in your area that you'll need to make sure you vote in as well. This is Rick, it's important. And I believe what you're doing at Patriot Academy, everything you've done all these years, Rick, it feels like it's for this time in this season. I thought 2024 was, man, we got to, get Trump back in and save the republic, which we did. I wasn't expecting so quickly for us to be even more in a situation where we've got to train people and get them plugged in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's the same for Patriot Academy, Wall Builders, Bill Federer, these folks that have been at this for literally 3 decades, preparing for this moment to solve the problem that John just described. I mean, John just described essentially what the Founding Fathers faced, which was patriots unwilling to get out there and actually do something. They prayed, but they didn't act. So another John, besides John Amanchukwu, was John Hancock. He said, I urge you by all that's dear, by all that's sacred, by all that's honorable, not only to pray, but to act. And then when they were at the signing of the Declaration, another John Dickinson, said the people are not ripe for revolution. In other words, they were the ones, like John was describing, oh, you know, let's just do our Sunday thing but not get involved. And then a third John, Witherspoon, the great theologian who would have loved John Amanchukwu, he said they're not only ripe, but rotting. We need to declare independence, and then we need to go fight. He's actually a theologian, a pastor, a reverend. So anyway, that's why we do biblical civics. That's why we train people to flash talks, to get them off of this being sweet, you know, all the time. It's time to be salty, actually be salt and light, and then show them how to practically do that in their communities.
All right, so you guys need to be there. John, you're going to be there, right? And you're not going to stand me up, right?
No, I'm going to be there with bells on.
All right, good. Good. We're going to have a good time, so make sure you're there. All right, let me show you what's coming up here. Well, first, before we leave the elections, guys, let's go to number 16. This is a great wake up, and I have a lot of friends in Virginia. And guys, I am so sorry, but what we have going on in Virginia is just nauseating. Let me show you what Spamberger did today. Watch.
Good morning. Look, Donald Trump knows he's going to lose the midterms. He knows it. That's why he's started this mess in the first place. I try to tell you all that. First he calls Texas, give me more seats. Then that's not enough. So he calls North Carolina, Missouri, Ohio. I need more. Today we are leveling the playing field. These are not ordinary times, and Virginia will not sit on the sidelines while it happens. We made a promise to level the playing field, and today we're keeping our promise. Our maps are ready, Virginia's ready. We said 10-1, and we meant it. And we are proud to deliver a map that stands up for democracy, to stand up for Virginians, to stand up and give us a voice. He started this mess, and Virginia is going to finish it.
I think that's funny, standing up for democracy. You know, Rick, let me show you what Spamberger did. You guys can go and roll that. Rick, talk about why this is a big deal. A lot of people don't understand. There's the map, but she advances this new congressional map for Virginia.
Well, she's showing Republicans across the country that said back in August, we don't have time, you know, we can't get the legislature together to do this, and we wouldn't be able to get it in time for the midterms. What's she been in office for? 2 weeks? 3 weeks? And they pull this off in Virginia. Look, it's legal. It's constitutional. States are allowed to do this. They get to draw the lines, and it's always going to be partisan. I mean, obviously, we're pushing the envelope here. I'm surprised because I don't know. I should have looked into this before tonight. I don't know if Youngkin or Republicans, when they took over, if they had any opportunities to reverse a lot of the gerrymandering that had taken place in the previous decades. But almost every other Democrat state, it's impossible for them to draw a new map and squeeze out more Democrats because they've already gerrymandered over the last 3 or 4 decades. So anyway, I don't know how much this changed in Virginia, but it is, hey, consequences of elections, folks. The governor and the legislature gets to do this if they so choose. Elections
are important, Floyd. What do you think?
Yeah, but it's really disgusting. It's disgusting the way these people lie. I mean, they get up in front of a microphone and they say, in the cause of democracy, we're going to disenfranchise half of the voters of our state. And that's literally what they're doing. Virginia is a state that just had a Republican governor and has millions of Republican voters, and they're going to gerrymander those lines, manipulate those lines, use AI and computers to draw those lines so that they'll have one Republican seat in the entire state. That's not democracy. That is the opposite of democracy. They're disenfranchising people. And you know what? It's just I can't even believe it's happening. And the mainstream media that should be talking about this stuff isn't. And we have so many issues like that. You have to go to FlashPoint. You have to go to social media. You have to go to different alternative media like Western Journal and other places to even learn about this stuff, as our country is literally burning down. I am so focused on these midterms, Gene. If we don't win these midterms, we are going to see Donald Trump probably impeached no less than 3 times. Nothing's going to happen. The country is going to suffer greatly because of it. And really, at the root core, it's because Christians aren't voting. And they've got to get up out of the pews and understand we're losing what's special about Western civilization. We've already lost it in Europe. We've lost it in Canada. We've lost it in Australia. America's the last holdout. We've got to protect our freedoms here.
And I'm glad you brought up about Virginia, because the bulk of the state is not blue. It's just that northern part of Virginia up there by the Beltway. All that is where it gets kind of goofy. And you're absolutely right. You left millions of people out.
Yeah, and a lot of that's because of illegal immigration. You know, I lived in Northern Virginia for 10 years, Gene, and it was actually Republican territory when I lived there during the Reagan years. But after now a couple of decades of just nonstop illegal immigration, I go to like the town I lived in Herndon, and I don't even recognize it. It's like I'm going to a foreign country. And, you know, immigration was never supposed to be like that. People were supposed to come to America because they wanted the American dream and they wanted to be part of this, what makes America special. Now they just come here to grift us, to rip us off, to steal from us. And it's I don't know. You can tell I'm upset.
You need to get a little worked up, Floyd. I need you.
Get passionate about it,
would you?
You got me. That spam burger clip got me worked up, because this is happening all over the country, and yet I bet you that there aren't 10 pastors in Virginia that even know anything about it. They're asleep. The Christian church is asleep. And, you know, it's our ability to worship as Christians that's going to be stripped from us.
You're absolutely right.
If we can't speak, you know, truth to power now, after these people control things, it's going to be illegal. They're going to be putting pastors and people into jail.
Agreed.
It's right around the corner, Gene.
It is definitely right around the corner. All right, let's talk about, I said I was going to talk about kids skipping school to go protest. Let me show you this mom confronts her son. Watch.
My kid thinks he wants to skip school to protest. Just wait for this nonsense.
School for this. Get in the car. No, it is my right. It is not when you are 16. Get in the car right now. No. Okay, that's fine. I'll call the police. They'll come take you. I can't get in trouble for this. You can actually, because you're skipping school. It's in the school rules. I can't get in trouble.
Now, John, listen to what the kid said. If I'm remembering correctly, he made a comment. I'm not going to get in trouble for this. I can't get in trouble because that's what they told me at school.
Gene, man, my blood is boiling. Where I come from in the South, that would get you knocked into the middle of next week.
Yes, sir.
My mother once told me when I thought about skipping school, she said, boy, I'd knock the black off of you. You know, man, and I'm still black, so I listened.
Good boy.
That time. And so it's sad, Gene. It's so sad that the kid responds to his mother and says, it's my right. I can do this. And he keeps walking. If he grew up in my home, he would have slept outside.
Oh, yeah.
My mother would have left him outside at the front door and opened the door around 11 a.m. the next day and said, hey, I got a question for you. You gonna skip school again? And see, but this is a different day where children can disrespect their parents, be disobedient, and still have a home to come home to. It's maniacal that they are skipping schools to go protest and support crime. Let's get this right. We're not talking about legal immigration here. I support legal, safe, and smart immigration. So as long as these newcomers assimilate, got to do it our way. Drive on the right side of the street, assimilate into American culture. But we're talking about criminal, illegal aliens. And what President Trump and Tom Homan has worked to do is get rid of the worst, the type that are pedophiles.
Well,
the type that abuse women and children.
I understand. But let's go to Utah because maybe things are better in Utah with the Utah middle school. Maybe they're better with the middle school because they're younger. Maybe it's better. What would your mom say about that, John? Middle school.
Listen, middle school, my mother would have told me, boy, if you ever skip school again, you'll wish that I wasn't your mom because I am going to tear your hind parts up. Gene, let me say this, man. It's sad, the level of leadership that we see in this country. The inmates are running the asylum. Teachers can't tell kids what to do because they might fight them. Parents are afraid of their children because they might call CPS. It's bad. You know, when you sow to the wind, the Bible says you reap the whirlwind. We have created a culture of anarchists where there's wholesale rebellion, and we're now campaigning and marching and protesting for people who shouldn't be here. Look at our housing prices. They're high because of the inflation that comes from bringing in 15 million people illegally. And kids are now protesting for this, supporting this during the school day, and principals and guidance counselors are supporting this as well. And we think that we're going to compete with China and Russia and foreign countries. God help us.
Well, let me show you what happened. I have more schools. You want to? I want your blood pressure to be okay, John. So I'll.
Man, where's my belt?
You know, my mother, Gene, my mother had a technique. I grew up in the 70s. We had long hair. And she had a technique. She would come up to me and she would wind her fingers around my long hair and she would just yank it. And I'll tell you, she could get me to do anything.
Yeah, I'm sure she could.
Hey,
she does.
Hey, Gene.
Okay, Rick. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to comment on something John said about leadership because it is such a lack and a vacuum of leadership. Look where we've gone in 60 years. If you go 60 years back, you know, because there is a time for civil disobedience, and we know rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God. And so in Birmingham, when Reverend Shuttlesworth brought the kids out of school, they skipped school to go march with Reverend Shuttlesworth and MLK. And I remember Alveda King telling me this story when we were standing there at Ebenezer Baptist Church. I know there's a lot of bad stuff coming out about MLK. That's irrelevant to this point. And the point is this, that once the dogs and the water hoses were turned on those kids and those images went out across America, it changed the heart of America. But what were they marching for? They were marching for righteousness, and they were marching to end actual laws saying John and I could not sit together at the counter, or we could not have dinner together at a restaurant, and just these ridiculous Democrat Jim Crow segregation laws. These kids are being told by the parents, and except the woman you had on there, and by the administrators and by the principals, the people in authority that are supposed to be the leaders, which is why I was going to this from what John said about leadership. The leadership, instead of getting people involved and getting kids involved in a good cause and changing the culture for good, they are championing pedophiles, rapists, murderers, gang members, drug dealers, and others who have broken the law, not quite to that extent, but have broken the law. What are we teaching our kids, man? Why do you think they have the attitude that kid had with his mom, or they're willing to throw things at cars or attack people and do violence? Because we're not even teaching them the difference between good and evil. We're calling evil good and good evil, so we should expect this kind of action from the kids. That's where we've gone in 60 years.
All right, so let's go to college. Let's go to university. Let's go check in at Columbia. And this is actually some good news. The New York Police Department, they decided to make some arrests today. Watch.
If you have refused to leave the roadway, you will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate, transport vehicle, or if you refuse the arrest, to leave the roadway, you will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct.
So they're blocking the road. The police department actually came and did something there, Rick. Again, sitting out in the middle of the street, I just don't understand. What does that accomplish other than getting you on social media?
Yeah, and again, I mean, these kids think they're part of a supposedly righteous cause because of what they've been taught, what the leadership of the Democrat Party has told them. I mean, when you have governors and mayors encouraging you to stop law enforcement from just enforcing the laws that their own fellow Democrats passed. Let's not forget that President Trump did not pass any immigration laws to do what he's doing right now. He's simply enforcing the laws that Democrats passed when they had a brain. And part of it was because the unions were supporting, secure borders, and that's who buttered their bread back then. But anyway, yeah, man, I watched that stuff, and honestly, it grieves me because I'm kind of a protester. Look, I'm a when authority's out of control, I don't mind, going out and saying you're wrong, you shouldn't do this. But these people are ruining that, man. They're taking what is a good constitutional right to go do, and they're abusing it and turning a peaceful protest into violence against law enforcement for criminals. I mean, that's still the part of me. John said it earlier better than I can say it, but I just can't believe what these people are out championing right now.
It is ridiculous. All right, let me show you some good news here. Unless you're the ones inside this boat, Southcom Commander General Francis L. Donovan, Joint Task Force Southern Spear, conducted another lethal kinetic strike on a vessel. Watch. Yeah, here it comes. And see ya. It's punching your ticket. Narco-terrorism. It was a trafficking route in the Eastern Pacific, engaged in narco-trafficking operations, and 2 terrorists were killed during this action. No U.S. military forces were harmed. This is leadership, Floyd. This is leadership at work, taking care of business and getting rid of. And you go, well, what about those poor souls that died? Well, they shouldn't have been running drugs.
They shouldn't have been running drugs. And, the drug running into America is way down. The borders are secure. And we should take time to thank Donald Trump for that. He has done a great job at least stopping the flow of children and drugs and people across the border. And, what they're doing to stop the cartels, is very, very important. I mean, the cartels have been running a number of these countries, including Mexico, where they have way too much power. And it's great to see President Trump doing this and reasserting America's right to protect its citizenry.
That's right. All right, let me show you this real quick. This is Vice President Vance and Rubio cheering on Team USA. The Winter Olympics start tonight. Watch. It makes you feel good right there, John, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Go
All right.
Team USA.
Yeah, I give you 30 seconds to wrap up here, John, real quick.
Go Team USA. I'm proud of our country. I'm proud of our nation. I'm proud of our president. Tone from the top matters. Donald Trump is doing a phenomenal job. I pray that the Lord continues to strengthen him and America as we stand beside him boldly.
Amen. All right, so today, we talked about this at the top. Today would have been Ronald Reagan's 115th birthday. Happy 115th birthday, President Reagan. Rick, I'll give you 30 seconds here to close it out.
Well, you started with his quote about freedom being a fragile thing. That's from his first day in public life, his inauguration as governor the first time. I'll give you the quote that he left with, his farewell address. He said, "I'm warning of an eradication of the American memory that will lead to an erosion of the American spirit. We need more civic ritual." I couldn't agree with him more. That's how we win this thing back. So that's why people need to be at those flash talks, because that is civic ritual. They're going to learn about what Ronald Reagan was all about.
Wow, that was good. That was profound, Rick. You got a good one in there.
Yeah, I waited till the end, you know.
Okay. All right, 30 seconds here, my friend Floyd Brown. Go ahead.
Yeah, we talked about it at the start of the show. This is a spiritual battle, and Christians can win this battle, but they've got to contend, and they've got to devote themselves to not only having a close relationship with Jesus Christ and devoting themselves to Scripture and devoting themselves to their relationship with Jesus, but then they also have to go out and work and be a part of the process, and then we can save America. It's totally within the power of Christians in America to save America.
Amen. All right.
Amen.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Pastor John Amanchukwu, Floyd Brown, and Rick Green, Alicia Farrant for being here. Thank you for joining us every night. FlashPoint is now 5 nights a week. We love seeing you right here every night. Monday's program, Mark Meckler, Hank Kuhneman, Rick Green, and Robbie Dawkins is about to head back to Iran. We're showing a lot of good things are happening. I know we talked about a lot of the bad stuff, a lot of the stupid kids, but we're going to stay strong. We're going to continue to stand strong and see God move. Thank you, everyone, for supporting FlashPoint and all that we're doing. Come to an event. Come to a Flash Talk. Hear Rick give you some great information, and you will not regret it. Thank you for being a part of this every week right here. And go watch the FlashPoint Television Network. We'll see you.
Hello, FlashPoint Army. I'm excited to announce that we're having our Made in America sale. We just put huge discounts on all of our products that are made right here in the USA. My Pillow bed pillows, body pillows, go anywhere pillows, and bolster pillows. They're all made with my patented adjustable fill, so you get the best sleep of your life. And how about our mattresses, mattress toppers, mattress pads, adjustable bed frames, mattress foundations, and so much more, all made right here in the USA. And we've even expanded beyond just quality sleep. Like the cross I wear every day, now it's available in both men and women's. And how about my coffee? The greatest coffee in history. And we've even expanded into health and wellness with everything from ashwagandha and apple cider gummies to liquid joint formulas, body and beauty detox kits, liquid complex for heart and brain support, Cold Buster all-in-one immune formula, and Vide, the best superfood ever, and Vide Plus collagen. Fish oil omega-3 pills, pro and prebiotic gut formula, prostate complete, and a natural sleep formula. So go to mypillow.com or call 800-975-4719. Use promo code FLASH to get huge savings with our Made in the USA sale. Thank you and God bless.
This is the FlashPoint Television Network.